Hey, come on guys, how many French cleat walls have you seen? Well, I did the French cleat lumber rack and hey, it turned out pretty good. I'm going to build a French cleat wall here and it's going to be rather unique and different. You're going to want to see this. Let's get started. Now, if you've seen some of my past videos, I talked about building out these niches here, these 1970 concrete block niches, and yeah, I want to do that. Now, I could easily slap a couple pieces of plywood up here, put some strips with a 45-degree angle, and call it a French cleat wall. I'd be done in a day. That would be it. But hey, I don't really want to do that. I'm going to build these out, try to make them look a little bit interesting and unique, and then I'm going to build tool holders that I can put wherever I want in these walls and make it interesting. I don't want to make anything easy. It's always got to be difficult for me. So let's get started.
Now, I really didn't want to consume this entire wall with French cleats. And I know a lot of you out there would say, why not? Well, it's a very small shop, as you can tell. We're under 200 square feet. And frankly, if I consume the entire wall, it's going to overtake the rest of the shop. And I didn't like that idea. So, you know, I had these 1970s niches that I wanted to kind of cover up because, well, that's a long time ago. And so I decided to build these frames that I would put in the niches. I think it's going to have sufficient space for all the tools I could possibly want to put there. And it's going to cover up those niches and make it look nice. Now, as I built these frames, I decided to put a color on the backing part of it. You know, if you saw my miter saw video when I built the dust collection system, the front covers are all black. I kind of like that. Here, I didn't want to use all black. I thought that would be a little bit too overbearing. So I ended up using this gray color that I had on the back wall, and I think that gives it enough dimension that doesn't make the shop look too small, but yet gives some dimension to the French cleat wall. I used spline screws to hold these frames in place. They worked extremely well. You know, it's got a really nice drive to it, and I would highly recommend using those. And then I used a Danish oil finish on the frame itself and cut some strips to frame out the sides and painted those the same color as the wall, so these three frames would kind of set into the wall, and I thought it looked pretty good. Now with that, yeah, there is some empty space here, and I realize that, but that will get filled over time. For example, this first aid kit took a lot of space in between two of those, and I will talk about that later in the video. But I did like the way it turned out. I'm glad that this part is done, and now I can start moving on to building the tool holders, which I think is probably the funner part of doing this whole project. Now, I took every single possible hand tool that I wanted to hang on a wall and put it on this wall, including a water bottle holder and a few other things that weren't even in the plan. And I still have some space left, so I think it's going to work out for me. Now, granted, these are only the tools I use in the wood shop. I do have another set of tools in a cabinet in the main garage, but I only borrow those from time to time. I don't use those very often. And so I just want to have those tools that I use on a regular basis. If you happen to see my air filtration 2.0 video, you'll notice that I put a lot of tools in that cart as well. And I took all of those tools and, frankly, a lot more to put on this wall. And I honestly, I don't know what I'm missing. I've got pliers, I've got screwdrivers, I've got files, chisels, measurement tools, tape measures, screws, you name it. So if you think I'm missing something on this wall, leave a comment in the comment section. But you'll have to see the end of this video so you can see everything that I put on the wall. And like I said, I've still got some room left for some additional items, so I think it actually worked out pretty good for me. Now, you'll notice that I don't have any power tools on this wall, and I've just got a thing about putting power tools away. I don't know what it is, but first of all, you know, with all those cords and everything, which I still like corded tools, it takes up a lot of space. And I've got a cabinet right under my miter saw table. I can easily pull those tools out and use them and put them away. And they don't collect dust on the wall either. So I made a conscious choice not to put those tools on the wall. And if you think I'm nuts, again, leave a comment. Let's see what you think. I happen to like the direction I went, and honestly, everybody's got to have a design that works for them. Why is a French cleat called a French cleat? It's kind of a stupid question, but we all call them French cleats. Well, it's believed to have originated from the 1800s from French shipbuilders. They'd use a strip of wood, they'd fix it to the wall, which would hold either tools or furniture. Really? Furniture? Yeah, well, that's what they said. I happen to think plywood works best because it doesn't warp, it doesn't split, it's hard to crack. But I think any hardwood that won't crack under pressure, under the weight, I think works just fine. I made 13 different French cleat holders on this wall altogether. For some people, 13 is an unlucky number. Well, for me, it's always been a lucky number, even all the way back to junior high school when we played football on the 13th. I had a good day. So I'm kind of partial to that number, but I can guarantee that over time I'm going to have more than 13 tool holders on this particular wall because I've still got space left for more. Now, this isn't the only storage I have in the shop. I showed you the tool storage that I had in the garage, but I've also got storage underneath the table saw, in the drill press cabinet, underneath the bandsaw, in the assembly table, underneath the miter saw. So there's a ton of storage in this shop where you can put stuff that is put away, doesn't clutter, looks nice, and I don't have this big French cleat wall with a whole bunch of tools on it. Hey, it's just my opinion. I have nothing against anybody else who wants to build a whole wall out and put tools on it. No problem with that. I'm trying to make sure that a small space continues to look like it has room.
Work for me.
Now, considering space, let me tell you my 5 things to consider when organizing your shop. Tool organization and placement for efficient flow is probably at the top of my list. So make sure you have those tools accessible and where you want them in your shop. Like underneath the table saw, I want to have blades and wrenches and grippers and pushers. Underneath the drill press, I want to have drill bits and hold downs for tools and wood. It just makes sense, right? And you've heard this before, but I like to have all of my large tools mobile so that I can move them around. I do that quite frequently, although I've laid my shop out so that I don't have to move everything. Things like the assembly table and the table saw, I don't think I'm going to move that much. Certainly the miter saw is not mobile, but that's okay. So having those large tools be able to move in case you need room, I think is critically important. The third thing is safety equipment accessibility. You're not going to use it if you can't easily grab it, and that's why things like my mask and my headphones and my safety glasses are on the wall, easy to access in the middle of the shop. But other things like the blade guard for my table saw is either on it or right by it, and other safety equipment around the shop like access to my, heaven forbid, my first aid kit, which I never used and I hope I never do. Those things you want to have accessibility to. Now, my fourth thing is flexibility. You've got to be flexible to be able to adjust and change placement of tools, big tools and small tools in your shop as you grow. I'm certainly interested in trying to get an edge sander someday. I want to get a drum sander someday. Where am I going to put that stuff if I'm not willing to be flexible in moving things around and changing placement? The nice thing about having a French cleat wall is you can easily pick a tool up, move it to a different place if you're not using it that much anymore. So flexibility, I think, is critical, especially in a small shop. And number 5 that I like is I want to get everything I possibly can off the ground. And you'll notice that my dust collection is absolutely completely off the ground. And my air filtration, now that I've moved into a small shop, I bought that filtration unit and put that on the ceiling. Hated to see my air filtration cart go because I really enjoyed that, but I want the floor space. So I've tried to put everything off the ground as I possibly can, and that's another benefit of a French cleat wall is I don't have a rollable tool storage cabinet. I've got it all on the French cleat wall, which I think makes a difference. And remember, this is a journey, not a destination. You're not trying to get there and be done. You're going to be constantly making changes to your shop, and that's half the fun of woodworking in general. And remember, woodworking is a journey, not a destination. It's going to constantly be evolving and changing. I started in a storage unit that was about 10 square feet, and it evolved over time, and I now have a dedicated space that's got enough room to build some very cool products. But it's constantly evolving, and I'm looking forward to that journey. Okay, if you stuck with me this long, you're probably wondering, why do I have such a big first aid kit in the shop? Well, let me show you. You see, it's not quite a first aid kit at all. I wanted a metal cabinet. It's got all my finishing stuff in it. I do happen to have a first aid kit in the top, but obviously there's not a lot of first aid stuff in here. So that answers the elephant in the room. Thanks for watching today. I really had fun building out this French cleat wall. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave comments. I'd love to hear your comments about this. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you did. I'm really trying to build out my channel. I'm having a lot of fun with the channel, and I'm having a lot of fun with woodworking, and I really appreciate the fact that you've joined me on this journey.